We're live.
Hello, everybody. Aradhana Tewari, the founder of Be the Change page, an Access Consciousness certified facilitator, business intuitive coach, and a leadership coach. And I'm here to take today's talk show with a very, very dear friend of mine. And I'll go to that talk show. Just before that, I would like to give you the introduction of this page and this place. So, Be the Change page is basically an invitation for all of you to be that change that you truly are here on the planet for. And we invite you with a question every morning here. And we ask you to introspect yourself with this question and see what comes up and what shows up in your world. Because the only person that we don't question is ourselves, and we keep looking for answers around the world. But everything is within you, and there is something special that you know that no one else knows. And if you share with the world will be a more brighter and yummier place. So that's the invitation of Be the Change, and come whatsoever, have that courage to be that. So for me, everybody who I invite here is a celebrity. As such, they are already being the celebrity, but special celebrities for me because they had that courage to show up in the world as what they knew, and they created some change, some difference in the world. So I really have fun talking to all of them, and I get to learn so much, and they inspire me truly in different spaces and possibilities. So, and I come here share this with you so that you have these inspirational stories, and behind every celebrity there is the courage that they required. There was a time when they went through bad times, and they never gave up, never give up, never give in, never quit. So I just love that attitude, and I want to learn from them that how did they manage then. If they didn't have a problem, did they have an easy life? What was that easy life? And are we allowed to have an easy life? So yes, today's one of my guests, Akshat Bhatt. He's a very dear friend of mine. He has had no issues in his life, and yes, easy life is possible. Yet he knows so much more beyond life, which probably we are struggling into this life and still do not know. And I would really like to introduce a little bit about him before I invite him. So Akshat Bhatt, who founded architectural discipline in 2007, is a multidisciplinary architect based practice based in New Delhi, India. His work highlights in the emergence of architectural expression that is contemporary, yet rooted in a critical understanding of regionalism. Architecture discipline works has two qualities not normally associated with one another: scale and intimacy. It integrates a traditional rational approach with cutting edge technology to create spirituality, uplifting spaces with spirit and heart. The practice notable projects include the Discovery Center Bengaluru, and the India Pavilion at Hanor Mess, and many others. Notable ongoing projects include the refurbishment of the 19th century edifice of the Oberoi Grand Kolkata, and much more. The firm's work has been critically acclaimed in India by various authorities and has proven its ground each time. So join me in welcoming Akshat. Akshat, can we have you online?
Hi,
Hello, hello. Thank you, thank you, thank you for saying yes to this. And
not
lucky,
at all.
lucky this page that we have your presence here. So yeah, as I was telling my viewers here that you are one of the lucky one who never had a problem. And people always say we have to have problems, and I'm sure we have certain kind of problems, but they're not like problems. But yes, you can have an easy life and yet know a lot more about life. So you're a very different invitation for us on this page, and I'm really grateful for you to show up. So I would like you to start your behind the camera celebrity life, what it looks like, how it is, and also talk about your guitar love, so that then we come to your work.
Okay, so I'm going to correct you. It's not like I have had an easy life.
I knew you coming with that somehow.
I think when I look back today, I I can't believe we've managed to do what we've done, and it it seems like it's been easy, but you know I was I am in a very different field from what my family is. Right? My family is just full of academics, so no one ever was an entrepreneur, no one ever ran a practice or a business of any sort. And I've had my heart ablated when I was 22 years old, which means they
Wow.
burned some parts of my heart because I had arrhythmia, and I was in a 6-hour procedure. And then when I was 33 or 34, I had a brain stroke. So I was in hospital
Wow.
for 18 odd days, and I was paralyzed for, I was literally paralyzed for 2 months. I mean, on half my side, and I'm still trying to get over that. So I still have half my face still remains cold, and I sometimes walk with a limp, and people who know me sort of point that out. Um, but yes, I think I've been blessed with some kind of a resolve. That when I was having the stroke, I was told that in the guess was that I'll be out of work for I'll be out of commission for 6 months at least, and I would need at least 2 months before I can start any kind of rehab. But I was out of hospital in 18 days, or actually 11 days, and then 18 before I was back at the studio. Although I wasn't allowed to, I wore a neck brace and all, and I sort of argued with everyone and went out. And I learned to sketch with my left hand while I was on the second day I was in my hospital, and the third day I actually had my studio in hospital. So, so
Wow.
and academically, yes. I mean, I think the first month I got into, it was very hard for me to get into architecture school. When I got in, I in the first semester I failed in 7 subjects out of 9.
I love that.
And,
I always say the people who really don't really study become some big celebrities. And you did so right.
yeah, well, far from being a celebrity, but yeah. I mean, I think I tell everyone, I think maybe I didn't dream big enough, right? I dreamt of I never dreamt of possessing so many guitars, but I guess it happened. I never dreamt of being an architect with a studio like this, but it came into being. I never thought we would be doing the kind of work we're doing.
But that's the
Probably,
beauty
yeah.
of you, Akshat, that I've seen that, you went through so much. And that was your statement that, and I never had a problem. Like, because that is how you kind of didn't pay that attention and you did not make it so significant. But how many people do that? It's amazing the beauty that you shared with us today, that, you did go through it, yet you did not make it so significant. And that is who you are today and what you are today, because you outcreated yourself each day, and you're such a great example for us sitting here today with me, and like, wow, outcreating your own self and your own capacities. But that is such an invitation. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think it was, I remember watching, I don't know when it was, but I was watching an interview uh, with, someone was doing an interview with Amitabh Bachchan. And, I'm not into movies and whatnot, but everybody knows Sachin Tendulkar, everybody knows Amitabh Bachchan. Uh, and So it was on MTV, and it was a fairly sort of, it was a very casual interview, it was a shallow interview. Like they were, it wasn't like a prim and proper conversation. But the VJ was asking him, certain questions. And what struck me and what sort of stayed with me is that, he's, you know, she asked him, like, what makes you, what keeps you going? And he said, the fear of failure. And so there are two things, right? There is the fear of failure, and there is this, uh, what's it called? It's called this, it slips me, the uh, imposter syndrome, right? So I think I have both. I fear failure, and it's imposter syndrome. I don't believe that I deserve to be here, and so I have to keep proving to myself that no, it's or to everyone around me that no, this really uh, this is true, and one deserves it. So you're sort of almost punishing yourself in that sense. And the fear of failure, because, well, yeah, it is the fear of failure every
But
time.
that is so beautifully you again putting. I love the way you put things so easy and comfortable that, okay, that is the fear of failure, and that does not let me stop and let me keep going. And you know how people hold that, oh, fear of failure, I'm fearful, and they hold the fear and set. But you're not holding the fear, you're even out creating the fear. This is like amazing, Akshay. I get you now. You are for what you are is like, wow, no wonder what an invitation you are. I'm already melting. My world is already melting. Oh, I never looked at failure that way. And the whole thing of like, this is a fear of a failure, and that is making me keep going. What a gift that is, right? Wow.
No, so yeah, but I mean, yes and no, right? I mean, people tell me that my dad tell me that you grew up old, right? I don't know this, but I'm told that when I was young, I would go to restaurants and I would sit quietly on a table with my fork and knife and wait for the dinner to arrive, and then I would eat with the fork and knife and make sure that everything was clean. And I think I've devolved since that time. I haven't evolved since that time. Um, yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
And how did that take you to the love of your guitars? Like how guitars talk, the places talk, the spaces talk. Can you talk a little more about that?
So my uh, one of my tutors, I think the one who I've stayed in touch with the most and who sort of pushed me is a gentleman called Arun Das Gupta. He's an architect. He's an urban designer, and I gloriously flunked one semester. I mean, not flunked, but I was like really degraded and demeaned in my second year first semester. And then in the second year second, it was Aruna who took me under his wing and said, okay, no, now we see what you do. And I don't know what happened. One thing led to the other. Even, in my fifth year, again, he became my thesis guide. And when I finished my thesis project, it was, he said to me that time that, this, what your project is a demonstration of self-referencing, right? What you can do by just looking at what you believe in, as opposed to looking at the world around and sort of, and sort of trying to analyze it and sort of lead up to it in a 1+1 manner, which I was talking to you about earlier, right? And I think it came from, I've always sort of had this sort of, I've always had like my feet in two worlds, or like, in two directions, right? So it's always the heavy and the light, right? Or the progressive rock music, but but also sort of really simple pop music, right? And sort of how that comes together. And um, so how that happened was, I think, the intensity with how I was looking at things came in through music or through the guitar. I'm not a musician, I'm a guitar player. Okay, I'm very clear about that. I have been obsessed with virtuosity on that instrument since I was 13.
What really got you to that? What was that actually made you feel in so love with guitar and playing guitar? And what brought, like what do you get when you actually play a guitar?
So, okay, I don't know what brought me to it. I think it was, I had picked up the guitar when I was much younger, but that was a Hawaiian guitar and I got bored of it. Then I was playing the bongos, then I was playing the keyboards. And then, I think around the time when I was 13, we got cable TV. So there was MTV, right? And I was, it was there in the living room. And as I was walking out, and I remember that moment. As I was walking out, I was in my shorts. I was going to swim. And I suddenly saw, a Guns N' Roses music video. It was Slash playing the solo of November Rain. And it was glorious, right? He's standing in front of this chapel and there's the wind is blowing and his hair is blowing and he's sort of holding his guitar up. And to me, it was just absolutely insane. It got me. And I said, okay, I have to pick up the guitar again. I have to get a guitar. So promptly, I think within a few days, and that's something that I've been blessed with, right? Whenever I've gone to my parents and said, I want this, I've got it, right? Like, so, and it's not been like, it's not like an abundance thing, but it's just that, um, if you want it badly enough, you want it, right? And you get it somehow. And that's sort of been true. Like the universe sort of conspires to sort of make it happen. And I'm not saying this in a manifestation sort of analogy, but I'm saying it really is true. So since that time, I picked up the guitar. I learned how to play some Guns N' Roses song because it was cool. There was nothing else. It was very shallow. It was cool, right? You can impress people with that, girls with that, and and you basically don't have to study, right? Because you're in the school
Love that.
band.
I love that you can impress girls and then you don't have to study and to
Yeah,
become the cool, and that becomes your passion, huh? And see, that is also not wrong.
and strangely enough, around the same time is when this uncle of mine was building our house, was sort of designing our house. He was an architect, and he was, 6 feet something tall, salt and pepper hair, salt and pepper beard, soft spoken, very very sort of uh, very distinct mannerisms. Even how he would eat his food, how he'd sort of fill every morsel, uh, and how he sort of, it was very very. Uh, I mean, it was incredible. I'd never seen anyone like that. And when I went to his house, I saw his drawing board. It was on the floor. In those days, people would draw on paper and had paddle bars and all that. So I basically saw the stationery, and I said, I want that because it was technical and mechanical and very cool, and yet it was colorful. And that's the sort of contradiction in all that we do. Like, it's technical, mechanical, progressive, but there's sort of joy in it, right? And that's what that drawing board. And I'm obviously post rationalizing, but that's what it was. And
But it is
I
amazing
said,
that, sorry to cut you there, but a lot of people actually don't see the joy in technicality and joy and I mean, I just love the way you put things. It's like how you put beauty in everything, how you put kindness in everything. Like, okay, this was technical, and one side it's like very easy, but there was a joy of doing that too, which is so amazing, man. Like, how do you get these ideas? Like, what is it? It's like it's inborn capacity of you of having seeing the beauty in everything. That is what actually led you to become an architect, or is it what?
um, no, what I think what led me to become an architect was also very simple. I wanted that drawing board and that stationery. So I said, what do I have to do to get it? So, it was obviously very, very technical stationery. So he said, you have to become an architect. And I said that I got home and I announced to my grandfather and my family that I'm going to be an architect, like Vinod uncle, and that was it.
And
And
nobody as an architect in your family, right?
no, this was my dad's best friend. So I just said, I'm going to be an architect like him. And that was that. It was done. Also, remember that I mean, nobody else would know this, but in order to become an architect in those days, you had to basically give an aptitude exam, which meant you didn't have to study, which meant that I had more time to play the guitar. Right? So I could basically sit on my, um, I could sit on my bedside and just play the guitar over and over again for hours. Right? I would play for those days. I would like play 20 hours a day with in those days you had cordless phones. So you had like a cordless phone talking to your friend or your girlfriend in one ear and sort of playing the guitar, sort of in another.
I
Um,
that.
and that was it. And
I wish we could have recorded that. Wow, that is so amazing. So could you please talk more around that? How this music, playing of the music, also helped you in being as an architect, as a good architect, or like and consciously listening to the whispers of how you listen to the whispers of your guitars and how you go and fetch them from the world, and you just know you have to buy them. And same with the architecture, how to design it and how to kind of it's like weaving together the need and the demand of the client with along with that futuristic space. How do you create that? Is it related? Is it how you play your music and how you do your
mm, loosely so, I think what it does is it builds personality, right? So I tell everyone that skills can be taught, but character is something you have or you don't have. It has to be built over time, right? So
wow?
I think what music did for me was that it just so happened that the music I liked, that was sort of I had no angst in life. I was not a rebel. I was none of that. But the music I liked was basically, it started with rock, but it went on to metal and progressive metal, which is very technical music, right? It's verging to sort of understanding music through like a classical composer, but playing almost acrobatic stunts on your instrument. And that sort of push for excellence, and yet it's musical. Huh? Let's not forget that it's musical and it's joyous, right? There is happiness in that. And a lot of people don't think metal music is happy, but I'm telling you that metal music is happy. You need to understand the music, right? It's not just anger and angst. A lot of it is anger and angst, but a lot of it is the same amount of music in that count is also happiness. And of course, you know, I found Van Halen and whatnot, which is actually happy music and sort of almost party music, but or Mr. Big, which is party music, but really, really technically strong. So I think while learning that, because in India, let's remember that those days there was no what you would study academically was not about, you were never analyzing something. You were basically given something to read, and you would sort of learn it and or sort of memorize it or whatever, or understand it and regurgitate it, right? But you were not doing any self-rationalized or studies or any analysis. So music allowed me to do that, right? Trying to learn something because there was no YouTube those days, right? I was learning off either from ear or from a magazine or from a friend who was teaching you something, and you were sort of stumbling upon it because we didn't have any of that. You know, you would have to go to Palika Bazaar and buy sort of pirated DVDs or pirated video cassettes to sort of learn, and the quality was terrible.
True.
So you were sort of, you know, I think it is that that struggle to get information and knowledge on something that also teaches you something, because you learn from the, you know, you stumble upon certain things, right? So it's all chance. And what I'm telling you now is also post rationalization. I understand it after 25, 30 years of doing it. It's not like I knew what I was doing when I was doing it. It's just by chance. So that gave me a certain sense of, you know, trying to get to this one sort of you know, almost acrobatic excellence, right? That how can you do this, right? And let's not forget that those are the people you like, be it a musician or a sports person. You are always looking for feats in human achievement. No one's ever said, "Oh, look at how basic and boring a song they wrote, and it's a hit." No, it's never that, right? It's never, "Oh, look at such a basic movie," or "Look at this." You know, it's just so pleasantly boring, right? It's never that. It's, you
Yeah.
know, look at how excellent this is and how. So I think by the time I got into architecture school, I'd already been doing this for 7 years,
Wow.
and I'd already been playing for 7 years. I was playing live. I was playing in studios, and so by the time I got in there, because there was no other way, like there was no way you could make a living from music, right? And I was actually kind of sick of playing, you know, sort of technical anthems in front of people, and, you know, people just headbanging to it, thinking it's sort of thoughtless metal music, right? And um, so that led me to architecture school. And when I got into architecture school through some struggles and whatnot, just about I got 60 in my board exam, right? So I just about passed, just about made the criteria, got in. I did not know how to sketch. I was terrible at it. You know, the person who, you know, my tutor who taught me, uh, who prepared me for admission into architecture school, actually told my parents, said, you know, there is no hope for him because he sketches like he has two left hands and no thumbs, right? and uh, and then eventually, but she did say that, you know, I think he has a tremendous aptitude for architecture, and that's the only thing he should do. So I got into architecture school, and then over there I was just bored silly because everyone was making these brick rooms of 10 feet by 10 feet and putting a 10 wall at a roof at 10 feet. I was like, come on, this can't be it. Like, you know, I want to play music live, and that's what I want to do. But I think in my second year, when I was sort of shunted into the library, that's the first time I opened a real book on architecture. And the first building I saw is something that still captivates me. It was this crazy sort of. So it was a very small project. It's called the Rooftop Extension in Vienna by Coop Himmelberg. It was a small office, but it was like some kind of crazy fighter plane had crashed into a building, and that's what became the office. You know,
Wow.
and it was a very popular, you know, project in amongst progressive architecture schools in that at that time. So much so that it still captivated me so much that I went to Vienna, I think in 2013, to just see that building, right? So that was like almost 12 years later that I went to Vienna to see that. And it was a tiny thing. I had to like zoom to that corner with a 400 millimeter lens to just see it.
Wow.
But that small thing had so much impact in the world of architecture.
So what is your work like? Do you build in that, and do you do out of the box? So what is your forte? Like I definitely have got this with you that you know how to look into the niceness and the yumminess of, say it's a metal music, say it's a boring project, say it's a boring space, but you make it so interesting. It's just like I would not take metal music and I'm like, wow, is there a space where there's a joy also in that metal music? I mean, I have to learn it from you for now. But it's like I never looked from that perspective. So that's, I think, your beauty, how you actually bring out the beauty in the thing. So how do you play that in your architecture and, you know?
Um, I don't know, but what I did realize a few weeks ago, and I wrote that down because, you know, I get these sort of sudden revelations and I then forget. So I told someone also, I said, look, I've realized that I design in a stream of consciousness. It's like sitting with your guitar, right? You sit, sometimes your instrument speaks to you, sometimes it's your mood, sometimes it's your body, sometimes it's what you've just heard, sometimes what you're thinking, right? Sometimes it's, you know, your amplifier that's telling you what to, but, you know, and you're reacting to something, right? So you I realized that I compose in a stream of consciousness, and it's been there from the first project. I get a sense, and then I'm struggling to get to that point, right? To what I sensed as
Wow.
as something that needs to happen. Now, it doesn't always have to be some fantastically sort of flamboyant piece, but it has to be a very. I'm always struggling for or striving for clarity and crispness, and that struggle for clarity or that attempt to get to as much clarity and crispness and simplicity in a project actually is a very complex process.
Wow. Yes, I definitely can get that.
And that expression is what it is. So our projects are not a showcase of, I say this very often, and I might sound rude to, people, but I feel that architecture and interior design has become it's become almost this thing of creating a box and then stuffing it with as many or stuffing it to make it an art gallery, a stone showroom, and a furniture showroom, and maybe a lighting showroom, and that's it. But that's not what architecture is. Our spaces have a sanctity. Spaces have a soul. Spaces are what it's your habitat, right? It's supposed to nurture you for the next 2 or 3 generations, you or your family, your place of work. It's supposed to give you that clarity. It's supposed to give you that sense of being optimistic, or being happy, right? And let me tell you, we use a lot of black. I use a lot of black, but that black also is because I feel that it makes a surface disappear and allows me to focus on the outside, right? But if it's white, it's sort of reflecting and looking at you. Black is just absorbing what's hitting it.
Wow. I never looked that now. See, again, how amazingly you brought the black thing out here in the world. Like, we've never seen that black like that. For us, black is black, but you put a new perspective to black too.
Well, I also stumbled upon that, right? Because I was, when I was younger, everyone was, it's hot in Delhi, you wear white linen shirts and whatnot. I would go out to sites, it would get messy. So I'd have to, you would be sweaty, messy, dirty. But in my world, you transition between a site and a corporate office very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And in those days, I would actually have to go to site. Now, I hardly go to site now, but in those days, I would have to go to site. And so for me, it was easy to get like a black t-shirt or a black shirt and throw on a jacket and walk into a meeting. You just dust yourself. Black sort of takes a beating that way, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And then over a few months, I realized that, I disappear. Like I don't see myself in my peripherals. So I can really focus on what's in front of me.
Wow. So it just helps you disappear, right?
Yeah, it's not a statement of any sort. This black is just because it's not even that subah utke kuch nahi sochna padta. It's not like that. People say, oh, no, my wardrobe selection is very difficult because every black is a different black, and every texture is a different texture, and every cut is a different cut. So you put it together,
Wow.
but it's just not noisy, right?
It's just not noisy. Beautiful. That is amazing. So, how do you put color into people's life with your architecture? So, I mean, I'm sure you do a lot of home projects as well. So, how you convert and you put your futuristic values into those houses and make them home, and also that house or that home belongs to the owners. Like, of course, you bring in that architecture aspect from the future, as well as combining and getting this whole family into communion so that next 30, 40, or 4 generations or 10 generations can live in that house. So is that you just sense it, or how do you go about that process? So what is can you talk a little more consciously, what conscious aspects do you perceive there? And
So I think um, we don't just make homes, right? So that's one thing that that's always been the cross learning. So we learn from a hotel and pass it on to a home, or we learn from a home and pass it on to a hotel, or you learn from a factory or an industry and pass it on to something. So there are a couple of things I believe. I believe that there's a little story you're taught in school, and I can't remember when, like good walls make good neighbors, right? So it is the spaces in between. So one is, remember that the city happens between buildings.
yeah,
Yeah,
wow,
your
yeah,
life exists within the building, right? So
yeah,
you have to think of how you're responding to the outside to create and what you're doing to the city. And that's, I think, something that's often ignored, right? That's why we have such terrible skylines. That's why we have such terrible street sides. That's why we have such It's not to do with the government not doing something. It's a lot to do with us as well, including the process of how you're constructing. Um, but and that's pure architectural thought. But more than that,
Can you say a little bit more on that aspect for everybody, like who's building their houses, and how they are just concerned inside and not outside? Can we talk a little bit?
um, well, look, I think for most people, you're looking at that elevation and isolation, right? You're not, and you're trying to make this one statement for yourself, right? You're not thinking of often of what the other guy sees, like what your neighbor sees, what you're doing to your neighbor. Right? Are you creating space in between which could be shared? Not, and I'm not saying it as a function, right? Where do you talk? Where have your chance encounters happened? Your chance encounters happen on the footpath, happen, in a public space. They do not happen in a private space. So private space must be addressed, but public space must be addressed as well, even when you're creating private space. And by creating this one imposing boundary wall and saying, keep everybody out, you're not just creating privacy for yourself, you're also shutting out the city. And
Wow.
I don't blame people. I think often, I think our cities have failed. They don't really, a large part of them don't offer us something, but I think now we've come to a point where we need to start reinventing them, or at least start changing them. We need to be some catalyst for change for cities. Um,
And how can be that taken care of? Like, how can we change now? Like,
I think we have to work really hard. I think we have to work really hard, think about the environment, think about what we're consuming. That's a whole long conversation. It's a very complex conversation in my world, and I think that sometimes when you look at it as a layperson, that might just be a very simple answer, a very simple conversation. But in my world, it's a complex one.
yeah, but what is
Uh,
that one simple word or a sentence that you would like to give it to our viewers who can at least start working day one from there, like whatever,
respect, and consideration.
uh, respect and consideration of everyone.
Yeah, and be generous. Be generous. Like, what is generosity? Be generous. If you're generous to everyone around you, they'll learn that from you as well, right? I feel they'll react to that.
So what is
Um,
generosity? Can we talk a little bit in your terms how do you see that as a generosity when it comes to building your houses, your spaces, and how to involve everyone or engage with everyone?
I think I'll have to. I mean, I'm gonna have to. I can't articulate that right now. What I can articulate is what you asked me about futuristic stuff and all.
Yeah,
I can't articulate this at the moment. Maybe I'll be able to articulate in a while, but not right now.
sure, sure.
But to what you asked me earlier about how do you make a building futuristic? No, and that I stay away from that word very often, because I think the moment you say future, people start getting these images of robots and sort of sanitized white spaces and very sort of sterile environment. That's not what it is, right? I mean, let's not forget that a lot of us still live in buildings that are 50 years old, or maybe longer. What was done to make sure that and a lot of them have lasted 100 years, right? It's not because you've used fancy marble. It's not because, yes, you'll have the one odd piece. So the problem is that each one of us is trying to be a king and make a palace, right? But a house is first a home, right? It has to nurture a family for for 3 generations or more.
Yeah.
And that has to deal with a certain changing thought, changing aspiration, evolving thought, evolving aspiration, right? It has to groom your mind. It has to be space for your mind first. So if you fill it with things in the very first day, what are you going to do after 20 years? Then it'll be overstuffed. And
Yeah.
that's a problem I see. If architecture is not textile design, right? It's not that, right? Your sari can be beautifully put together, can have a lot of intricate work on it, yes. And because it's a sari you'll wear one day, maybe you'll wear it 10 days and it becomes an heirloom and goes into a wardrobe. But this is architecture, something you experience day after day, and you have to see it and feel it. So the true luxury that you are able to afford is air, light, and space, right? Work towards that. And that doesn't need crazy expensive marble from, you know, across the 7 seas. It
Right.
needs it needs something else. And that's, if you strive for simplicity, you'll also start striving for clarity.
Wow.
And if your spaces have that, um, you're all set, because this space has to remember nurture you from the time you are, from whatever age you create it, till the time you're on, till the time you can't sort of nurture or create or maintain it anymore, which is till the day you die, right?
So do you get that it is also related to a person day to day, their own thoughts and feelings and emotions, and their houses do represent them, and the architect they choose, or the and how they brought in that aspect in their houses along with the architect. Is it somebody's nature? Is it somebody's aspect of how they nurture themselves? Do they nurture their houses? Is it somewhere there, or
So I don't think homes are about individuals. I think homes are about families.
families? Yeah.
So
Okay.
you have to get a sense of what that family is and what they're going. And remember that there's also where, it's about what they're going to be. And remember that they are also, today we are constantly bombarded by images on Instagram, on Pinterest, on, whatnot, like on journals. You see these sort of very image rich content, right? Which is, it's almost like, everybody wants to be a superstar, right? And everybody is a superstar. You might just be a superstar with three people, but and some might be a superstar with 3 billion people, right? But that is what it is. Now, how I think we tend, it's the easy way out to sort of obsess over, or to sort of accept someone saying, oh, I'm this and this and this and this and this, and you just keep layering that in, you just keep putting that in. But if you keep putting those things in, all you get is a lot of junk, which you eventually will want to get rid of, right? So you have to be discerning. If you need to create distinctive space for every family, then remember that that family also has to grow, and you'll see that as you start sort of sifting through that, you'll find clarity. I think we often obsess over so much as, oh no, it must be this, or it must be this, it must be so one art from so and so, and the canvas must be so large, and must be stone from so and so. That creates a sense of dissonance and uh, a sort of a sense of tension in these spaces. So we tend to, so what in this studio, what we try to do is we're always striving for happiness in that space somehow. The happiness doesn't mean that the space has to be all white. No. And it doesn't mean it has to be bright colors all over. It's about something else. It's a deeper connection than that. And sometimes you'll find it through a color, sometimes you'll find it through material, sometimes you'll find it through texture. But most importantly, you find it through space. And that space has to change its expression. The meaning of that space will change for you through different times in your life, right? And I think all of us can sort of pretty much put our lives into like 5-year buckets, right?
Yeah.
Right. India used to have this old 5-year development plan. You can put yourself, at least I can, like I can actually see the 5-year buckets, right? To me, it was a challenge to break the 5-year bucket for architecture and guitar playing.
So do you sense every project that you have done? Do you actually listen to your guitar, like when you enter that property, like as you individual who created as an architect with your team? Do you feel that sense, or do you still are not very happy with your projects?
So I'm never happy. I think I'm never happy with a project.
But ever listen to that string of your guitar?
No, the connection is not that literal, unfortunately. A
Oh,
lot of people have asked me, like, can you relate architecture to music? I say, I can't, it's just, but what music does, I think it inculcates a certain discipline, or has inculcated a certain process. Um, People collect art. I don't collect guitars. I find them, or they find me.
bit about that you find them, because that really intrigues me, and I'm sure it'll intrigue a lot of other people.
I don't know. Like, I think, like everyone has these sort of aspirations, right? Since they're a child, like, I want this. Like, it's like a very child. It's a kiddish thing that, oh, I want this instrument, or I want this, and that's what's special about it. So sometimes I'll actually go out and find something special, and it's not like I'll find it immediately, right? There's a guitar that I chased for 17 years
Wow.
that I sold, and then I sold it in Delhi, and I found it in Germany.
Wow.
Uh, so,
That's
and
amazing.
there's an instrument that my mother offered to buy for me in 1994, and I sort of Said, oh, no, no, it's terrible. I don't want it. And then I found myself in 2013 sort of bidding crazily for it on eBay. And it was in London, and I had it shipped from London to New York and got a friend to carry it in for me.
Wow.
So there's things I found, like I saw something in Hong Kong, loved it, didn't have the money, couldn't buy it. Thought, came back to India, said, no, no, I have to get it. Tried to procure it, couldn't get it, and stumbled upon it 2 years later in Singapore. There's a guitar I saw in Singapore in 2006. Had no idea that I could ever acquire it or own it or anything. Loved it, didn't have the money, walked away. And 2012, and I posted on this on my Instagram recently. 2012, somebody dear to me was in Singapore, and I said, if you're there, can you go to this store and And I knew it was going to be 6 years later, right? So I said, I'm just going to send her on a wild goose chase, trouble the person. Walks in there, and there's a case there which says Akshat so and so, and it was that guitar. It was there for 6 years in that store, in the vault in that store for 6 years waiting for me.
Wow. So what is this that these guitars really wait for you and then they come to you? What you get? What is this connection?
I have no idea. I think it's just, I think sometimes it's just about, there are some instruments that have songs in them, but there are some instruments which have a story in them. And by story, I mean they teach you something, right? Be it intellectual or emotional, or they sort of satisfy something in you, right? I never set out to have a collection, be it a guitar or a pedal or an amp. I just stumbled upon it over time. So there's something like you can't resist it. I can't resist it. It's like an addiction, right? I can't resist it. It's not like I intellectually want it.
But this is so goes true that something, if really loves you, will come back to you wherever it is. And it's not that it's gone out from your sight for once. It doesn't exist in the world anymore. It does. And it has come to you after 17 years, 12 years, 6 years, 2 years, which is like, and the same piece, which is like, that really
Yeah.
amazes me, amuses me, like, wow, you know?
Yeah. It's, I don't know what it is. I mean, I tell everyone, it is your mind that can also feel, right? And I think recently they found brain cells in your heart, right? There was this one discovery, and they have found a small number of brain cells in your heart. So there is that one connection, of course. But I don't know what it is. I think almost every instrument I have is special, and I'm not saying I'm not saying it's special to me. It is special. Somehow I found them. It's not like I go out looking for special instruments. Uh, I found them at random guitar stores. I found them in uh, fairs in Thailand. I found them through people who just needed some help uh, and didn't know what they had in their hand. And then I've had to tell them that, this is, I never take something from somebody and not let them know how special that is. Like I tell them that this is what this is and you're getting rid of it. And I don't think it's, I'm not, I can either give you fair value or not. And sometimes I actually I tell people, I told a friend, he needed some help. He wasn't just going to take my help. He said, take this instrument. And I said, it's yours. Take it back when you're ready for it. And, I gave it back. When
So what would you say, Akshat, I think I can go on with your stories. I always love and I love and converse with you all the time. And I go for hours and then I'm like, oh God, okay, I think I've taken enough time of yours. But what is your legacy? What legacy would you like to leave behind in the world when you go? What is life for you and what is your legacy, if I may
I
ask?
don't have a legacy.
So
I
yeah,
think I think my legacy would, if anything is left of it, I would say that it would be my studio. So we're striving to make this studio it is an equal opportunity practice, but we're trying to eventually make this an equal owned practice, right? So I don't own architecture discipline. Nobody owns architecture discipline, but everyone in architecture discipline who's contributed to it owns it in some way. That it's been a conscious effort for the last few years. I'm blessed in the studio with a uh, uh, great team of people. The energy here is great. I mean, I have to pinch myself often. It's okay. It's not like I'm smiling in the studio all day and I'm not yelling and I'm not angry or I'm not upset. I am, but I do have to often pinch myself. And I've received that compliment from a lot of people, a lot of our clients. So you're an unbelievable team. I've received that from people who worked with us, have gone abroad, worked in great studios, come back. I've heard that from people who lead some of the greatest practices in the country, in the world, who've come to us and said, what a studio, and you're really fortunate. And I feel that I'm blessed.
What makes it special, Akshat?
I don't know. I think it's the people and the enthusiasm and the honesty to work. It is the honesty and the effort and the commitment, right? See, architecture is a leap of faith, and it's a giant leap of faith, right? Remember, it's the most customized thing that you will do for anything. It's creating a physical space with with a lot of sort of cultural relevance, and for families, it's an emotional significance. And you're creating it from scratch, and they have entrusted that onto you, right? And you have to find the goodness in each one of them. I mean, I think in our 20 years of in my 20 years of practice and in architecture disciplines, 12, 13 years, we've only sort of not been able to find that in two, right? And just two. But that's it. But the rest of, and I feel that, and that is, I think, and that quest in the studio is what makes it special, because everyone comes in with that sense of sort of ownership, of responsibility, of knowing that they are part of something special.
So what would you say is a true leader? Like, so is that like everybody working in your team is a leader in themselves, or is it that they've been led by somebody? Can you speak a little bit before we like close this for today? So what is
Uh,
that as a leadership?
I don't think, I don't think it's about, I don't think it's about dotting the I for your people. I think it's about nurturing the ability for them to understand, for them to know how to dot the
Wow,
I.
that is so beautiful.
The most dispensable person at architecture discipline when it comes to work is at the moment me. So
Correct.
I am the most useless person here, which makes me happy. Which means I can actually go home and play my music. That's it.
But that's the beauty, that you trust them and they know what they're gonna gift you. So you've been, I mean, what would you say? Like, I what I get is like you let them be. What can they contribute, and how can they make that architectural discipline as theirs, not like owned by them. So they're single leaders in their own world, right?
And the hope is that, I mean, look, the fact is that it's a complex profession, right? It is, because you're the there is a, you're bridging. It's a profession with sort of almost like, it's got huge leaps, right? Because our profession has legacy for the last 5,000 years, and it has to take this leap in the future. So these sort of crazy stretches are what an architect has to navigate or negotiate, right? And they have to do it with flair. No one wants to see an architect a designer do something like an accountant, right? Not just add. It has to be, you have to pull a rabbit out of your hat some way, and that takes time, because you have to know your craft. You have to know how to deal with the worker at site. Imagine even the other stretch, right? You're dealing with a daily wage earner who has to deliver something to you, and you're dealing with someone who has the means to engage you to
Yeah.
do a home or a large or a public project or whatever it is. You have, on a public scale project, you have a social responsibility, right? So how are you bridging that? Like, we're doing a mohalla clinic on one end, and we're doing five-star hotels at another, and we're doing modern palaces for people, which are their houses or homes or villas. How do you bridge this? And that is the learning. It's sort of an attitudinal or a sort of character learning that is what takes the most amount of time. I think in our studio, skill set's not a problem. We find that very quickly.
Wow. So, which is your most favorite still date project, which you think is so represents you and your team, which is like which just makes you joyful that this is something your product is.
I think our first two projects. I mean, and I'm saying, look, you are striving for progress and sort of excellence on every project, right? So each one of them is special to us. And I'm not saying this in a loose way. I'm saying, I mean, I know everyone says that, but I really mean it because we're not a we're a very involved firm. So each project for us needs that level of involvement. It requires that amount of commitment. Once you're committed to it, at that very moment, like if people ask me, what are you working on today? I'll only be able to, or what are you working on these days? I'll only be able to name that one project that I've sketched out or worked on last. I will not be able to name the other 17, 20, 30 that are in the studio. I wouldn't even remember them. I'll only know that one moment, right? And then I'll have to think a while and then the others will come back. So when someone asks me this question, which is what is your favorite work? I don't have one. I, I don't, I dislike all of them equally. And that might just be like, I think there's that correlation with the New Testament, right? That if you don't hate your father, you must love you don't have to love your father in the same way I love mine. But if you don't hate your father in the same way I hate mine, you're not worthy of making evolutionary change. So by the time we're done with the project, there is so much of it that we hate that we want to improve it, right? So, but I have to say I'm thankful for my first two significant ones, which are the Mana project at Ranakpur, the hotel, and the Discovery Center at Bangalore, which uh, which were our first, which were our first two projects. So it gave, and I still cannot believe that I was all of 27 when we pulled off those two, and the studio was just four people, or
Wow.
6 people, right? To be, if you were to ask me to, how did you do that, and can you do that today? I'm not sure if I can do that. I mean, I know the studio can, but I'm not sure I can do that today.
Wow. So, what has be the change for you? Last not the least, for the show, what would you like to say? What has be the change, and what does be the change brings up in your world when you've been asked for that change?
I think, I mean, if you're asking me for some sort of mantra, I don't have one. I
No.
just feel that
What does it just says to you? What does be the change? What does that? How would you like people to know? And what is your aspect of looking at it? What does that be the change should look like or looks like to you?
I think it's about uh, I think it's about commitment
Wow.
and conviction, right? That's it. Just I think you do that, and commitment and conviction to what you do is going to lead you. Uh, is going to show you direction in life.
Oh my God, how beautifully have you put. It's like that commitment and conviction is what is exactly that you required in those tough times, I guess. To be that change, but we don't remember them. But that, thank you for putting up that beautiful. I love the way you put things so beautifully, Akshat. I can never end up conversations with you, but thank you so much. I think it was such a amazing journey to know about your life and such a inputs from you. And I'm sure it contributed to all our viewers here. And we'll be keep sharing. And please share if you liked it, guys, with the world and let the world know. It's just that you can make everything look so beautiful, and it's about you. It's not about what people want. It's when you bring up and when you allow it, all the energies to contribute, it just becomes so beautiful. But yeah, thank you. And we would be sharing all the links and how to connect with Akshat on the chat. Anybody wants to get in touch with Akshat? Any specific space, Akshat, people can get in touch with you to get
No, just I mean, I think I'm at B takes pictures on Instagram, and that's it. That's good enough.
awesome. Thank you, Akshat. Thank you so much for this whole conversation. And it was a pleasure having you here.
Yeah,
And
thank you for having me here.
thank you. And thank you, everybody who was here watching it. Please share with your friends, family, and wonder what more gift can we be. And stay tuned to this page and bringing up more talk shows. If you are creative in your world and you change the world in your own manner, please connect with us. We would love to have you on this talk show. And thank you, my team, Sonali, Dhruv, um, Umesh, and Shivangi for this. And won't have been possible without your support. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.